Hello everybody, this is Mrs. Childress and I am getting ready to start a Love of Lit class for week 26, and I hope you are able to join me. And I have missed y'all, but I'm glad that we have this way of doing things too. So you've been reading Prince Caspian and I hope you've been enjoying it. Just think about what you've really liked about it. It's really different than The Horse and His Boy, isn't it? They both are Narnian books, but they're very, very different. You know, of course, The Horse and the Boy takes place while Peter and Susan and Edmund and Lucy are still in Narnia. It's during their reign, and then the Prince Caspian takes place many, many, many years later. So it's very different. The setting is very different. So I'm interested to know what you think of it. I think some of you have already read it. But before we start talking a little bit more about Prince Caspian, we're going to start doing your absolute favorite thing. I know it is. It's your vocabulary, your Latin roots and Greek roots, and you wouldn't want to miss that. So let's go ahead and start with that. If you have looked on your packets or on the website, you will see that there are two things that you can download. One is the instructions and one is the packet. And the instructions are saying pretty much exactly what I'm going to be saying on the video, but you can still keep them in front of you because I might add something or not, and you can always go back to them too. That's kind of a fallback there. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull out your sheet that is your vocabulary sheet. You'll have two Latin roots this time. They are mot and nat. I don't know if that's how you pronounce them, but that's what they look like. M-O-T. You're going to be making a page that looks like this. And mot means move. All right, and you can see a picture of a car or taxi moving there. And then nat means born. All right, so if you look at some words that have the root word of mot in them, you will see some of them. I mean, there's a whole bunch of words, but the ones that are on this page are automobile, or automotive, emotion, motel, promote, motor, motive. And if you think about it, each one of those has something to do with moving of some kind. A motel is a place where people go to when they're moving somewhere or when they are traveling somewhere. All right, your emotion is something that just moves. You just it changes. It's just change your moods. It's just it's kind of a funny word to have as mot as a root, but you can sort of see where that came from. Then we have automotive, and that of course is everything about automotive moves, and then motor, same thing. And then when you promote, that is when you're moving up somewhere. So you're moving up from a certain level and you're going to a different level. So that's promote. So anyway, there's all kinds of ways that you can sort of connect the word mot, M-O, or the root mot, with some of these words. Okay, so then we have nat. And nat is born. And some of the words are native. If you are native to a certain place, you've been born in a certain place. Okay, the nation, again, have people who are all born in the same area or nation, are a nation. They can be a nation. So, or they have the same background or that kind of thing. Okay. Anyway, so here we go. You've got mot and you've got nat, and you also have in your packet some things to make in your composition book. So if you do that, go ahead and get out your paper And you're going to cut down your pages again so that they'll be the same size as your composition books. So it would be 7 inches across, 9.5 inches down. Make these pretty and get them all ready so that when you do get your composition book, you'll be able to glue them right in, and it'll and your composition book will never know that you had been missing it. All right, so go ahead and do that. And then when you're done with your composition book, we're going to talk a little bit about some of your literature. If you look in your packet, you'll see something that says quotations and questions. Again, you are going to make a page with this, but when you are reading a book, there are certain things about it that there are certain questions that you might want to ask, or maybe a certain question that someone else wants to ask. So what you want to do is to be able to answer them in a way that you can prove from the text. So that's kind of what we're going to work on a little bit today. We're going to work on figuring out how to find sentences, or sometimes they're called citations. If you say something, if you say that somebody says something, you need to go and find out exactly where that was and exactly what that person said in order to prove that that's what really happened. And so that's called a citation. So you're going to work on that a little bit, but go ahead and get out your, we're going to work on it as you work on your composition book again. So go ahead and get out your page that says quotations and questions. You are going to make a page that looks like this. Now you notice that these are flaps right here, okay? So just glue it along the edge right here so that your flaps will open, okay? And then you can put your title on the top, just like that. So go ahead and glue it first. You might want to go ahead and cut the flaps, and then also I have drawn lines so that when you open it up like this, you can see where the lines are, okay? That'll make it a little easier to find it or to figure out where to write. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I'll give you a minute or two. I mean, you might need more than a minute or two, but I'll go ahead and do that. And I'll keep going, and you can just work on it as we're talking, okay? So the first thing we're going to do, our first question, if you look at the top of that, our first question, it says, shows the importance of the setting. Shows the importance of the setting. So our question would be, why is setting important? Or why is the setting important in this particular book? Okay, so what your job to do is to find a quote or some kind of a sentence or a paragraph or something that answers that question. Okay, so I'm going to give you some of my answers, at least the first couple, and I've also in your packet I have sent you what mine looks like. So if you really get stumped, you can look at that and to get ideas about what you're talking about, how to find something or where to find something, because sometimes it's hard to find a spot in a book, a particular spot in a book. Okay, so we are going to find out. Think of a statement in the book that tells why it is important to take note of the setting. And one quote that I found was in chapter 3, and this is what the quote says. It says, why shouldn't hundreds of years have gone past in Narnia while only 1 year has passed for us in England? Now remember, when the kids got to Narnia at that point, I think they knew they were in Narnia, but they had no idea where in Narnia they were, all right? So when they came upon these ruins, it really stumped them till they started noticing that things looked kind of the same as where they had lived when they lived in Narnia. But that was only a year ago that they were in Narnia, and these were ruins that had been ruins for hundreds of years, and they're trying to make sense of this. So that's when they started figuring out that maybe time in Narnia was different than time in England. Now remember, when you're talking about setting, you're talking about place. Well, we already know the place, Narnia, and we're talking about time. All right, so the important part of the setting here is the time. All right, so we're looking, so I found the citation, it's called a citation, that kind of tells why it's important. Now that they have figured out that maybe the time in Narnia is different than time in England, that explains to them what's going on. Okay, so it really kind of gave them a clue. Before that, they were very, very confused. So that's an important thing. You need to know something about the setting when you're reading. Okay, so your next story then, or your next statement or question is, you need to find a citation that shows the relationship between two characters. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of those in Prince Caspian. Okay, so you just need to find something. Okay, so the relationship, how did the dwarfs feel about certain people? What's the relationship between Prince Caspian and Peter, especially towards the beginning, in the middle of the book? And what is the relationship between Prince Caspian and the king, Myraz? They had a relationship. So where is a sentence in your book that tells what kind of relationship is those two have, okay? Or any other two that you might want to talk about, okay? There's just lots and lots of things that you can find in this book, okay? Okay, so the third one is, what is a citation or a quotation that captures the theme, idea, or message of the reading, okay? So what you need to think about as you're reading Prince Caspian, first of all, we have talked in the past about messages and what all that means, and the theme, and what is this book trying to get across? What are some important things that this book is trying to show you or trying to prove? And most books have all kinds of themes, and Prince Caspian is no different than that. It has all kinds of themes. You could think of loyalty, you could think of faith, you could think of trustworthiness, you could think of trust, you could think of humility, you could think of all kinds of traits. And so what I would like you to do is think of some of those things that come out of Prince Caspian when you read it, and find a particular incident in the book that proves that character trait, or proves that theme or that message. All right, I wrote down a couple of them. Like I said, there's all kinds of them too, but you think about, see if you can find some. And the easiest way to go about it is to think to yourself, well, what are some of the themes that I can think of that really stand out in Prince Caspian? And now all I need to do is go back into the book and find where that particular thing happened, and where that particular event showed that theme or that message. All right, so you can go ahead and do that. And then our very last one is just this is just your own fun thing. It says what you need to do is find a quote that is what you consider the quote of quotes, the one quotation that really stands out. So what you're going to do is think, and it might be easier to do this after you have finished the whole book. Okay, so think about everything in the book. Think about something that someone said, or something that happened, or just something that was just stood out to you and made you go, oh my goodness. And it's something that you probably won't forget for a very long time. Okay, so just come up with something like that, and that's what you would write under that fourth flap. All right, so you kind of got an idea of what you're supposed to be doing here. You find you read each of those things, you find that are in each of these flaps, and you need to find a statement or a citation that illustrates those. All right. So that's going to take some thought on your part, isn't it? All right. Believe it or not, we don't really have much left to do. So it's time to get to reading again. You're going to be reading some more of about Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. You're going to find out some things about faith. You're going to find out that Lucy, again, like for those of you who have read The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe, if you remember, Lucy kept insisting that certain things had happened. There really is a Narnia. There really is. And her siblings just didn't want to believe her until they saw for themselves, right? Well, she finds herself in this exact same situation again. She's pretty sure she sees something, and her siblings do not believe her at first. But the thing about it is, one thing that is one of the good things about having stuff happen to you in your life is you can look back at it and you can learn from it. So if you remember back in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, how Edmund was so mean and ugly at the beginning, and he had to become very humble in order to repent of what he was doing. And so he was a lot more willing to humbly take what somebody said. And so you're going to see how he changes. And the thing about it is well, I don't know. I think maybe we'll have to wait about it. We'll have to wait till next week, because there's some things I would love to talk to you about, um, about whether or not you believe something, and that kind of thing. So it's a lot to talk about, but we'll talk about that another day. Meanwhile, just go ahead and enjoy the book. And I also, on the website, on the Ren Web website, I posted a little clip of a scene in Prince Caspian that you might enjoy. So it's just a real short little, couple minute thing, but you can click on that and enjoy it for a minute, okay? And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.